Welcome to an intro on Filecoin and Powergate. So first of all, what is quickly Filecoin to the neophyte? Filecoin is a distributed, decentralized storage system that uses a cryptocurrency called Filecoin in order to incentivize miners to hold on to the files and distribute them. Now, Filecoin is not yet ready, meaning that right now, as I'm speaking, it is in a test network, and the main network is not yet released, but it should be in the upcoming months. So it's good time to get some hands-on experience on how the system works. And now about Powergate. Powergate is a set of tools built around Filecoin to help developers interact with it. For example, one of the main parts is of the Powergate is here in this design. So first of all, this is pretty complicated, but what I want to emphasize is these two parts here. The Powergate client comes bundled with an ipfs node and a Lotus node. Now the ipfs node, we know what it is. It is the decentralized, peer-to-peer file sharing network. And then the Lotus node is what talks to the Filecoin network. So it's bundled with these two things. And the Filecoin network really is meant to back up files that are on ipfs. And conveniently, Powergate is going to bundle these two things. Now, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to run an instance of the Powergate. But you might wonder, how do I talk to the Powergate? Well, in this diagram, kind of showing it, here it says a POW CLI. So POW is a command line interface that you can use to talk to your client. You can use it to get file or upload files or just configure it. And then another way is just through a JavaScript client that's going to communicate to gRPC and allow you to do the same things that you can do with the client, meaning the CLI, meaning that you can get files and upload them. And in this tutorial, I'm going to focus on the JS client. So to get started, what do you do here? We are in the github.com/textilio/Powergate, a link which I will put in the description. But here is where you download the client, the Powergate client. So what you will do is this. You're gonna do a git clone the GitHub repo. In my case, I already did that, of course. So it's here in the Powergate folder. And this repo contains a lot of stuff that you can use to either run a Powergate client on the test network or on the local net. And in this tutorial, it's going to be about the local net. So what is the local net? Well, you got the main net, which will be upcoming later. It's not yet live. We have the test net, which is exactly like the main net, but more for developing and testing. And then there's the local net. The local net runs in your machine virtually. So it's not a real network, but it's going to allow you to interact with it and play around with the system. So we're going to do that. And it's a lot simpler to get set up, because with the testnet, you need to sync with the network, and it can take a long time, and it's a lot of busy work. So it's going to be simpler that way. So to get started, how do we run the local net on our machine? So we are in the Powergate repo, and from there, I'm going to go into the Docker folder and then run make local net. And then it's going to start the process. In this case, it was pretty quick because I did it previously, but if it's the first time, it's going to take a while. Now, as you see, it's mining, and the virtual miners are working. I want to show you a part over here. There's a bunch of ports that are open. Maybe not here, maybe it's higher than this. Here. This port, gRPC web proxy address, is important because it's going to be the port that we'll use, the address, to communicate with this instance of the client. So it's important. So it's localhost 0.0.0, port 6002. Now that we got our instance running, we just need to talk to it. And for that, there's another repo, which I will again link in the description, which is the Powergate JS client. And you can install it with npm i @textile/Powergate client. But for this tutorial, I created a repo already that integrates this client, and it's here. I called it Powergate Filecoin intro. And you can clone this repo too to follow along. I will, of course, again have a link in the description of this repo so that you can copy it. So while I got my instance of the Powergate running in the background in localnet, I cloned the repo that I showed you previously on GitHub. And now I can start the app. It is, by the way, a React application. So it's a front end that will allow us to see how it works. I do yarn and yarn start. It's gonna get it running. And here on localhost 3000. So here is a very simple front end. What we're gonna do is click on choose file and take a file. And then we're gonna upload the file. But before we do that, and then of course on the console it's gonna show you a bunch of information. But before we do that, I want to show you the code. So here I got the app, I got a Powergate component here, and here on the bottom we see that we got the input where we input the file that we want to upload to Filecoin. And here there's a button just to submit it. And the unsubmit function is this one here. So what is going on right now? So on line 3 and 4, I am importing packages from the Textile Powergate client. Here, create pow is the most important one because we need to instantiate the host. So on line 8, I define the port where the Powergate client is running, which is localhost port 6002. And then on line 10, I instantiate the instance with this host. And now I am ready to start calling functions. So here we go on the unsubmit function. So we have our first method. There is await pow.hell.check, just a quick health check, and then I upload it to the console. I'm going to show you afterwards. And then here is just to read the file is uploaded. I need it as a buffer. So the Powergate JS CLI is going to take a client is going to take a buffer. So I have to convert it. And then there's unload. Reader unload. It's is fired only when it has successfully been loaded. So here it is, line 29. So there is some setup that needs to happen before we can use the Powergate client. Now this function is gonna be called every single time that this app is started and the button is clicked. But normally you would set it up only once, and that is the creation of a token. So here I do it with await pow.ffs.create, and it creates this token, which I then set the token. So this token, you could also create it maybe on the CLI. It might be better to do it this way. So you do it only once, and you save that token, and you might even save that token as an environmental variable. Probably the best way to do it. And you do that only once, of course. But this token identifies your session, so it's important. On line 34, I just wanted to show that there's a bunch of functions you can use that you can interact with the wallet inside your Powergate instance. So here, pow.ffs.addresses is going to list all the addresses that are part of your instance. Now it comes with a default address, so you don't really need to create new addresses. And here, on line 36, I ask for the balance of my first address. Of course, in this case, the balance is 0, but that's okay because on local net, we don't need to have Filecoin in order to upload a file. But on a real network or even on the test network, you're gonna need some Filecoin in order to archive a file. And here on line 41, I'm creating a new address. And on line 45, now that's pretty interesting. So when I tried this app previously, it did not work. And I was not sure why. But then I tried with the CLI, the same steps, and it worked. And it's because there's some configuration that was part of the CLI that worked correctly. So what I did is I exported those configurations and I put it here. And I'm setting those configuration. And I'm going to explain a bit what this hot and cold is. So Powergate is organized in hot and cold. The hot part is the ipfs node. And the cold part is the Filecoin node. So the idea of this is that an ipfs node is like a CDN almost. You can distribute files very fast. Now the cold storage, cold is the Filecoin node, which means that it's not something that you would call on demand. So what you would do if you are requesting a file is that you will download the file from the Filecoin network and then send it to the ipfs node, and from the ipfs node distribute the file. That way you are not using any bandwidth on the Filecoin network, and it's better. On line 75, here I in this buffer variable which contains my file, I am now uploading the file to ipfs, and I'm doing that with await pow.ffs stage. And before you can upload your file to Filecoin using Powergate, you need to have it cached at the very least in your ipfs node. So this does that. Here I call pow.ffs.push storage config. This is going to actually push your file to the Filecoin network using the configuration which we showed earlier. Now this part is for the hot part, and this is the cold part. And here we can watch the job. So the reason you watch the job is that in reality, to upload a file to Filecoin, it requires doing deals with miners, and this can take a bit of time, like a few minutes, 5 minutes, even 10 minutes, so it's pretty long. And using these job statuses, you can track where your job is at. Is it cancelled, is it failed, and then is it successful? So after like 10 minutes, you should expect to be successful. In this case, however, it's a local net. The local net is going to go directly to the job success. So it's going to be very fast. And it will not last, the job will not last as long as it would on the real Filecoin network. And on line 91, we do pow.ffs.get, but the content identifier of the file, and we get the file. And I'm going to show you that in the console. But just a quick comment on this part, when you get the file. So how it works with Powergate, when you ask for a file, it's going to first look into the ipfs node. Do you have the file cached over there? If yes, it's going to send you the file. If not, it's going to get it from the Filecoin network and send it to you. Now in this case, the get, even though we uploaded the file to Filecoin, it will not get it from Filecoin because we have it on the ipfs node. Just something to keep in mind. Now here I got my app. So I'm gonna click on choose file and go on my file. It's important to note about that, however, that you cannot have big files. That's just a quirk of the local net. So you have to stick to small files. So now that I selected my file, I can click on upload file, and here on the console, we'll see all the stuff that I've console logged in the onSubmit function. So here there's a status, which was the health check. That's the buffer of my file. So it's just an output before it's uploaded. Here we got the list of addresses, so there's an initial address. So it's pretty simple. The balance is 0, as expected, because we just created the address. There's no Filecoin in that address. And here there's a job. So it's probably going to be successful too. Yeah, it's status 2, which here which just means that it's initiated the job. And then there's a second job update a few moments later, where it says job success. So it worked. Now we have the file correctly uploaded in Filecoin. And also there's, by the way, this small error. It does not impact our code, our implementation, but I found that it started occurring when I put the config. So I'm not sure exactly what's causing this little error, but it still works. And that's it. We did a simple implementation of the Powergate. So we first ran an instance of the Powergate on localnet. Then we connected to that instance of the Powergate. We instantiated our client. And then we uploaded a file first through the ipfs node and the Filecoin network. So now we already did a lot using the Powergate client. So as you can see, you can, right now with just what you've learned, you can already start making your own Filecoin application. So that's pretty exciting. So I hope this video was useful to you. So have a good time coding, and see you next time.